Straight ahead, Troy police have made an arrest in a fatal hit-and-run accident. A parade in Troy to honor one of the city's most beloved figures. And hundreds gather for a memorial service to mark the 3-year anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. The news is next.
Now, the #1 news station in the capital region. This is Channel 6 News at 11.
Good evening. Troy police say they found the person responsible for a fatal hit-and-run accident in Troy. Shortly after midnight early this morning, 16-year-old Allison Bodner of Troy was standing at the corner of Congress and Christie Street talking to friends when she was struck by a car. The car quickly left the scene, and this afternoon, Bodner died from the injuries she suffered in that accident. Well, police were confident they found the car, but they were uncertain of the driver's whereabouts. Well, tonight, Michelle Tracy of Watervliet turned herself into police, identifying herself as the driver. Tracy was charged with leaving the scene of a personal injury accident. She pleaded not guilty in this evening's arraignment and was released on her own recognizance. Further action is anticipated by the district attorney's office. Albany police are still searching for a man wanted in connection with 3 slashing incidents in Albany on Saturday. 20-year-old Avery Workman was the first man to be slashed. He received a 3.5-inch cut on his neck while he stood on the corner of Lexington and Central Avenue. Workman was reportedly initially approached in a friendly fashion. Carl Becker was the next victim. He was slashed in the back around 6 a.m. while he waited for a bus. Becker said the assailant approached him, put his arm around him, and then ran a razor blade up his back. Becker suffered a 17-inch cut, as you see, but today he's okay. The third man, Rodney Davis, was the most seriously injured. Authorities say Davis was hit by a brick and then sliced on the right side of his face. He's listed in serious condition at Albany Med tonight. His condition has been improved, though, to fair. Becker described the incident to our crew this afternoon.
I was walking down the street and to go someplace, and this guy come up to me and put his arm on me and said he knew me, then he cut my back.
Police described the suspect as a black man in his 20s, about 5'7", with a thin build. He was wearing a black leather jacket, black pants, and a burgundy hat. Authorities say there is no connection among the 3 victims. Well, topping national news tonight, Linda McCartney, the wife of ex-Beatle Paul McCartney, has died. Linda McCartney was 56 years old. She had cancer. She died in Santa Barbara, California, with her husband and their 3 children at her side. She did have another child from a previous marriage. Linda Eastman McCartney was a respected photographer when she married Paul McCartney in 1969. Together they formed the band Wings, which recorded a number of hits in the 1970s. Paul McCartney is asking well-wishers to donate to charities dedicated to cancer research or to become vegetarians, as Linda was. A small passenger plane carrying more than 300 pounds of marijuana crashed after being chased by U.S. Customs agents. The Customs Department began chasing the plane near El Paso, Texas. The pilot of the plane was killed when he crashed to the ground in a baseball field behind a school in Michigan. An amateur videographer from Florida caught a terrible scene on tape. 2 Red Baron biplanes collided during a stunt routine, sending both planes crashing to the ground and killing both pilots. The planes burst into flames as they hit the ground, just 1,000 yards from nearly 5,000 spectators. Fortunately, no one on the ground was hurt. Authorities say gusty winds may have been the cause of that crash. Well, turning now to weather, we had a drippy day, but will tomorrow dry out? Neal Estano is in for Steve Hammis tonight. Neal?
Well, Mary, it's going to be drying out tomorrow, but it's a certainly soggy night with some areas picking up 1 to 2 inches of rain, especially to the south and west of the Capital District. Now, looking at the radar, really lit up quite a bit across New York State through New England. But the good news is this is all going to be tapering off by midday tomorrow, certainly mid-morning across the capital region, but then by afternoon we'll see a return to some sunshine. After a chilly start to the day, we will warm up into the mid to upper 50s. The winds will start to pick up tomorrow afternoon, helping to dry things out. But it will be a wet morning, and I'll tell you what we have for the rest of the week coming up in a couple of minutes. Mary Beth?
All right, thanks, Neal. An Irish patriot with ties to Troy was honored with a ceremony today, but recent developments in his homeland make the remembrance more timely than ever. Mark Burdeck reports.
On a cold and rainy Sunday afternoon, about 24 people gathered in Troy to honor an Irish patriot. His name is James Connolly, and a statue sits in the center of Veterans Park to mark his memory. Connolly was executed by the British in 1916 for helping lead the Easter Uprising, a key battle in the struggle for Irish independence.
He was murdered by the British in the rebellion of 1916. His body was riddled with bullets, and they sat him in a chair, tied him there, and executed him. He was a dying man. They carried him out just to do that. So it's very moving for all of us, this tribute today.
Some 82 years later, Connolly's dream of an Ireland free from British rule may finally become reality. A proposed peace agreement would end decades of British rule in the North, splitting power between Catholics and Protestants. Supporters say if Connolly were alive today, he would be shedding tears of joy. While James Connolly will always be known as an Irish patriot, he will also be known for his work on behalf of organized labor. In fact, he lived here in Troy between 1903 and 1905, where he began his campaign for labor unions. While living in the Collar City, Connolly helped lead an important strike by workers in Troy's shirt factories. Many of his efforts on behalf of labor have long since led to reform. Now, his greatest dream of all, a dream for which he died, may be about to come true. Mark Burdeck, Channel 6 News.
Yesterday, the largest political party in Northern Ireland, representing Protestants, gave the Irish peace plan its support. Final vote is on May 22nd. Coming up on Channel 6 News at 11, victims of violent crimes are remembered in Albany today.
You're watching Mary Beth Wenger, weathercaster Steve Hammis, and John Discepolo on sports. This is Channel 6 News at 11.
Until you or someone in your family is a victim of crime, you have no idea how profoundly it can infiltrate your life. And families of crime victims say the frightening thing is you can't hide your head in the sand and ignore it.
Patrick A. Zumo, Melissa Case, Mark Chandler.
No one ever thinks
Bonnie
they'll
Chandler.
find themselves in the pouring rain, hearing the name of someone they loved and lost violently, read out on a list of crime victims.
Frankie D. Filippo, Michael Scott Bard.
In conjunction with National Crime Victims' Rights Week, New York State families, including some from the Capital District, dedicated a brick walkway bearing the names of people whose lives were cut short by crime.
I think it's terrific. It's moving, but yet it's inspiring to show unity. The victims are getting a voice. We are coming together. We are standing united.
Elaine McMullen Hathaway's husband Bob and son Mike were shot dead by a young man they'd taken in as a foster child 3.5 years ago in their Averill Park home. She wants all of us to be aware that our lives, like hers, can change in an instant.
Crime is going on around us all the time, and we want people to be on vigilance for it. We want people to say, look, there's something going on. Can you help somebody else?
And today marks the 3rd anniversary of the worst terrorist act ever on U.S. soil. Relatives of victims and others gathered to remember the 168 people killed and the 400 injured in the Oklahoma City bombing. Many people brought flowers and rang bells after the 168 seconds of silence to remember those who lost their lives. The names of the deceased were read as families placed wreaths where the piles of rubble had once been. In 1997, Timothy McVeigh was convicted and sentenced to the death penalty. Terry Nichols was also convicted, but he has not yet been sentenced. Well, back to the weather. This was one of those April showers days. So when will we see the sun next? Meteorologist Neal Estano has the forecast.
Well, as Annie said, the sun will come out tomorrow a little bit. All of the forecast coming up next.
This segment of Channel 6 News is sponsored by Raymore and Flanagan. And now, your Storm Team 6 forecast with meteorologist Neal Estano.
The best we could do for the temperature today, 51 degrees, a lot of clouds. The rain moved in fairly early. It was a drizzle this morning, but certainly get heavier this evening. 44 the low this morning, and we're right around that right now. Normal temperatures 36 and 59. The records 18. You remember that one, 1976, doing all the bicentennial celebrations? 92 degrees back then. Well, 45 right now. 45 is the dew point. Humidity 100%. North-northeast winds at 7 miles an hour. No pressure reading, but it is falling as an area of low pressure is moving just to the south of New York City right now, spreading a lot of heavy rain across southeastern New York, across western New England. Now, this rain will continue to move from south to north overnight tonight, but the good news is the trailing edge of this rain should be passing through here by mid-morning, so we'll see the rain taper off. It's going to be a cool, breezy day tomorrow, but it's going to be drying out by tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures right now throughout the Northeast in the 40s, even a few 30s off to the west of us. A chilly, wet night, and it looks like the wet weather will continue throughout the night. Some heavier rains down across the Catskills with 1 to 2 inches of rain there. Maybe an additional 1 inch, maybe an inch and a quarter of rain across areas southwest of the Capital District, and certainly out toward Binghamton. They've been seeing a lot of heavy rain, and they should continue to see some heavy rain. There were some thunderstorms from New York City south or along the New Jersey coast down to the mid-Atlantic states. Nothing too severe right now, and no reports of any tornadoes or not much in the way of any damage this evening from those storms, but certainly something to contend with. Now, right now, we're looking at those showers and thunderstorms to the south of us. General rain throughout the Northeast right now, but high pressure is going to take over and give us improving weather as we head into the work week. Now, across the central part of the country, that's where there's some drier areas right now under that high pressure. That's going to be sliding south. As it does so, we're going to see our winds shift around to the northwest tomorrow and start to blow between 15, 25, maybe even some gusts of 30 miles an hour tomorrow as this area of low pressure to our south intensifies as it moves off to the west of us. So cool weather in place. Looks like it's going to stay cool for the next 24 to 36 hours. And we'll start to see somewhat of a warming trend. Low pressure moves out. Drier air moves in tomorrow afternoon. We will see some improvement. Looking pretty good as we head toward the work week. Starting out tomorrow with some clouds and some rain, but that will change by tomorrow afternoon as we'll start to see a little bit of sunshine. So detailing the forecast tonight, we'll see rain. It could be heavy at times. And then by tomorrow, we'll expect to see 55 to 60 degrees for a high. Morning showers, then becoming partly sunny by afternoon. Then tomorrow night, 33. It's going to be a chilly one tomorrow night. And then that'll take shape for a nice day on Tuesday, 65 under mostly sunny skies. And look at this. The rest of the week looking pretty darn nice. Highs in the low to mid-60s. 60s by Friday, and some sunshine out there, just a few clouds as we see a drying trend. It's worth getting this rain to have that weather. Now looking at the weather phone, we'll give that to you, 476 WRGB for the latest forecast. If you can't get through there, check out the webpage, WRGB.com. So we are going to be seeing some heavy rain tonight. Not much of a chance of any flooding. The ground is fairly dry. It's soaking up a lot of this rain. But still, you want to watch out late tonight, early tomorrow morning. A lot of puddles on the roadways. Don't drive through any puddles real fast. The kids are going to be waiting for the bus tomorrow.
That's right.
You don't want to splash them.
You're not kidding about the heavy rain. Boy, I think I went on a lunch run tonight, and boy, I got practically drenched. Yeah, really coming down for a couple hours this evening. It's going to taper off in the next couple of hours, but still some rain through tomorrow morning. All right, thank you, Neil. Okay. Well, still ahead, the NFL says goodbye to one of its best defensive players, and one Albany athlete has dreams to make it in Philadelphia, while his teammate is getting all charged up in San Diego. John Discepolo has got the scoop when we return.
And now, sports with John Discepolo.
The NFL draft wrapped up today in New York, and there were a couple of local players that we here at Channel 6 were watching that did not get drafted. Now, one was Reggie Green from Siena College. Another was linebacker Denton Randolph from Union. However, a pair of Great Danes signed on as free agents. One was tight end Seth Thomas, who has agreed to terms with the Philadelphia Eagles as a free agent and will enter minicamp on Thursday. The 6'4", 270-pound Thomas caught 94 passes for over 1,200 yards during his 4-year career with the Great Danes. And his teammate, Dan Gamellon, has just agreed to terms as a free agent with the San Diego Chargers. Gamellon racked up over 2,200 yards with 17 touchdowns during his 4-year stay at UAlbany, and he led his team to a school record 11-1 campaign this past season. Meanwhile, in the NFL, after 13 pro seasons on the gridiron, Reggie White, the NFL career leader in sacks, is retiring. White, who has made the Pro Bowl a record 12 times, says a bulging disc in his back has limited his playing time, and he now feels it's time to move on. He finishes with 176.5 career sacks. NHL tonight, the Buffalo Sabres at home trying to tune up for the playoffs, taking on Ottawa. First period, Sean McCartney for the Senators comes down and beats Dominic Hasek for his 23rd goal of the season. 1-0 Senators. Second period, more from Sean Boyd. Getting a second of the game here with the backhander. Ottawa goalie Damian Rhodes made 26 saves as the Senators hand Buffalo a 2-1 loss. The Sabres finished 6th in the Eastern Conference and will face the Philadelphia Flyers
in the first round of the playoffs. Hey, speaking of Flyers, they were in Boston today taking on the Bruins. First period, Jason Allison sets up Stevie Hines for his 4th goal in as many games. 1-0 Bruins. Third period, Rookie of the Year candidate Sergei Samsonov nets his 22nd of the year, beating Sean Burke. And the Bruins lock up 5th place in the Eastern Conference with a 2-1 win. So Boston will open the first round of the playoffs on Wednesday in Washington, which secured 4th place in home ice advantage with a 2-1 win over Carolina. Elsewhere, Toronto won at Vancouver, and St. Louis beat Anaheim 5-3. To the NBA in the good news and bad news segment of sports. The bad news for the New Jersey Nets is that they've lost 3 straight. The good news? Well, if they could beat Detroit today, they'd secure a playoff berth for the first time in 4 years. The bad news? They'd have to play the Bulls in the first round. The good news? They play golf, right? Nonsense. First quarter, let's get to the highlights. Off the steal, Kendall Gill for the lay-in and 1. He had 27 points. Nets up by 5. Detroit would counter. Jerry Stackhouse, the spin, and Jumanji. He pumped in 20 points. Pistons up by 3 at the break. Third quarter, it's Grant Hill with the driving scoop to the hoop. Detroit up by 3. But it was New Jersey who would have the last laugh. Kerry Kittles from beyond the arc buries 3 of his 22 points to give the Nets the victory, 114-101. The Nets are jumping for joy because they are going to the postseason for the first time in over 4 years. To the Diamonds. In Detroit today, the Yankees were in pursuit of their 9th straight win. However, the Tigers had something to say about that. Brian Hunter's shot off the back of Hideki Arado here in the 6th forced the Yankee hurler to leave the game with stiffness in his back. But not before he gave up this souvenir in the 7th to Tony Clark, who goes and visits the upper deck and right for his first home run. 1-0 Detroit. In the 8th, Jorge Posada at the plate will ground out to second base. Tigers go for the double play, but can they complete the 4-6-3? They cannot. Tiger pitcher Brian Moeller doesn't like it because Scott Brocious comes home and scores to tie the game at 1. Bottom half of the inning, Damon Easley hits a sac fly to center field. Bernie Williams is there to make the catch, but his throw will not be in time, allowing Kamara Barchi to score as Detroit snaps their 7-game losing streak while halting the Yankees' winning streak at 8 games. In Boston, Indians and Red Sox, and these two guys aren't the sharpest tools in the shed. Brett Saberhagen for Boston picked up his 3rd win of the season, only giving up 4 hits while pitching 6 shutout innings. The Red Sox got their runs on 2 sac flies. One from Jim Leyritz here in the bottom of the 5th to left field, plating Nomar Garciaparra from 3rd to give Boston the lead 1-0. And how about Nomar on defense, robbing Sean Dunston of a base hit and telling him to go sit down as the Red Sox shut out Cleveland to the tune of 2-0. Elsewhere, Toronto slipped by Chicago in 12. Seattle beat Minnesota. Baltimore lost on the road. It was Tampa Bay 6, Anaheim goose egg. KC took care of Oakland 7-3. National League, the Mets in Cincinnati looking for their 11th win in their last 14 games at Synergy Field. Top of the 3rd, John Olerud hits a shot that gets past Brett Boone at 2nd, scoring Bernard Gilkey 3-0 New York. In the 5th, it's Olerud again, this time to left. John Boy went 3 for 4, drove in 3 runs, including Gilkey again here, put New York up by 5. In the 8th, Gilkey wanted to get into the act. Gilkey at the plate, Gilkey would deliver. He went 3 for 5, accounted for 3 RBIs, as the Mets racked up 16 runs en route to slapping Cincinnati. Ow, that's going to hurt. 14-0. Elsewhere, San Diego and Pittsburgh were postponed. Milwaukee beat San Fran in 12. Philadelphia lost at St. Louis. Chicago beat L.A., as did Montreal over Houston. Out west, the Braves beat the Rockies 5-3 in the first game of their day-night doubleheader, and Colorado is getting some revenge in their second one. And in the desert tonight, the Marlins beat the Diamondbacks by the final of 4-3. All right, to auto racing. Rain has pushed back the Goodies 500 until tomorrow at 11 a.m. And if things can dry up by then, 3 drivers have a shot at taking home a very nice trophy. Rusty Wallace has 6 career victories here. Jeff Gordon has 5 consecutive top 5 finishes. And pole sitter Bobby Hamilton has 4 straight top 5 finishes. The trio will all be in the first 2 rows when they drop the green flag tomorrow at the shortest and flattest track on the Winston Cup circuit. Don't know if you want to go whipping around at 120 miles an hour on a wet track. Not the smartest thing to do.
Bad enough just driving around here.
Tell me about it.
A rainy day like today.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Well, coming up next on Channel 6 News, police in Ohio are feeling just ducky as they rescue some babies from a sewer. Finally tonight, police in Kittering, Ohio can call themselves heroes. They're responsible for saving 9 baby ducks from a sewer. The ducklings fell through the sewer grates as they followed their mother duck across the street. The mother stood guard over the grate until rescue workers came to her aid. And there is good news to report. All 9 babies were safely returned to their mom. For some reason, they kept them in an orange cone, but they seem to be fine. No feathers ruffled. Remember to call us when you see news happening. Just dial 346-TIPS. The numbers, that's 346-8477. On a cell phone, hit *6, and that's a free call. Don't forget you can join us online at www.wrgb.com. That service is courtesy of Global 2000. And we thank you for joining us, and we want to check in with Neal one last time on the forecast. Nice weather for ducks.
Yeah, great weather for ducks today and tonight. Yeah, we're going to be seeing things improve, though. You'll need that umbrella first thing in the morning. Kids are going back to school in the morning. It's going to be raining still, but then by midday, the winds will pick up. We'll see some sunshine. It's going to start to dry out tomorrow. A nice-looking week coming up.
All right, that's it for us. Roseanne's up next. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.